or IRP1. This is going to be an informal question and answer session. We'll get an introduction to the NE mission and to the topic area, and then we'll hear from the program manager. And once we do that, we'll open it up for questions and answers. So I'm going to turn the time over to Drew Thomas, who is our NEUP office manager, and he is going to go over that NE mission and the topic area. Drew?
All right, thanks, Felicia. We'll get some, the topic area slide up on the screen here, and that will have the information on the NE mission, and we'll also have a description of the scope. But I'd like to welcome everybody out. For those who don't know me, I am my name is Drew Thomas. I'm the NEUP Integration Office Manager, and I will provide some remarks on the NE mission and how the CINR funding opportunity is organized, and then I will turn some time over to Janelle Edens to introduce herself and any other program managers that will be participating in the conversation here on our IRP1 scope area, which is our Grand Challenge integrated research project on accelerating reactor deployment. Next slide, please. So for the NE mission, the CINR funding opportunity is intended to provide impactful university-led research on topics related to the NE mission, and that's to advance nuclear engineering, science, and technology to meet the U.S.'s energy, environmental, and economic needs. There's 4 main areas that the mission focuses in. Those are keeping the existing U.S. nuclear reactors operating, the deployment of new nuclear reactors, securing and sustaining our nuclear fuel cycle, and building international nuclear energy cooperation. Areas that fall outside of the mission and fall to different areas in the government are medical physics, nuclear fusion, nuclear forensics, and environmental management. And as we discuss the scope for this IRP1, as Janelle talks a little bit, what we're looking for in these IRP projects, they're larger, typically about $3 million over 3 years. They require multiple universities to be involved, and they're typically larger teams to solve a specific technical gap or problem. And so this scope is relatively broad to give all of you flexibility to demonstrate which challenges or which gaps will be most impactful to solve, to demonstrate and to ultimately deploy reactors. And from that standpoint, I will turn some time over to Janelle Edens to introduce herself, and she can pass the torch over to others if others are going to be involved in the question and answer session. And otherwise, we'll once she's finished, we will open up for a question and answer session back and forth that will be facilitated by Felicia. So Janelle, I'll turn the time over to you.
And Drew, you're just looking for a quick introduction on our title and the programs that we manage?
Yeah, I'm looking for that, and maybe and maybe from your perspective, any additional comments you want to add on the IRP1 area that I didn't cover on what the scope covers, and what as we get into the conversation, if there are things that the program is already doing in this space that you think would be helpful for applicants to possibly know about, that you could mention those things as well.
Okay. So sure. So my name is Janelle Edens, and I am the Advanced Reactor Development Team Lead. I'm also the Program Manager for this particular IRP. And with this IRP, we're looking for innovative ideas on how we could reduce the cost for reactor operation as well as deployment, as well as how we could accelerate the timeline for reactor development. So in this particular IRP, we're interested in any advanced reactor design. So that would be the non-light water concepts as well as the light water concepts. So we don't want to prescribe exactly what you should propose. There many different types of activities that you could propose that could potentially accelerate the deployment timeline. So we're looking forward to seeing your innovative ideas. And we have several of the program managers on the line. I'll start with Kat Abbott, who is our Fast Reactor program manager. Kat, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name's Kat Abbott. I'm the federal program manager for the Fast Reactor program. And like Janelle said, the big aim for us is addressing technical challenges to reduce capital costs, and in designing and developing scalable advanced technologies and options that would support fast reactor designs. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I'm going to jump to Savannah Fitzwater.
Hi, my name is Savannah Fitzwater. I'm the incoming federal program manager for NRIC, the National Reactor Innovation Center. We're focused on deploying reactors, so proposals that support the first deployments and kind of all the associated cross-cutting activities there would be of interest. Connected with all of my colleagues here.
Okay, move on to Matt Hahn.
Hello, my name is Matt Hahn. I handle the gas-cooled reactor scope of the ARC program. Our research includes materials such as high-temperature alloys and graphite, as well as work associated with modeling and simulation associated with gas-cooled reactors, as well as some validation testing for decay heat removal systems associated with gas-cooled reactors. Thank you.
Diana.
Hi, my name is Diana Lee. I am the program manager for the microreactor program. With respect to microreactors, some of the attractive characteristics that we are pursuing, including the fact that they can be factory fabricated, and then they'd be small enough to be transported via plane or rail or truck, or by sea. And we are pursuing applications where they could be possibly remotely monitored or even allowed to have autonomous control. So anything that would help us shorten the timeline to deployment with those characteristics would be of interest to us. Thank you.
And then in addition to our federal managers, we also have some of our national lab experts on the line. We have here Bradley Tomer, who is the acting director for the National Reactor Innovation Center. So Brad, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. As Janelle said, I'm Brad Tomer. I'm the acting director for the National Reactor Innovation Center. We work primarily with Janelle and Savannah on our program. We have a couple test beds that we're building to bring in industrial partner reactors to test their reactors in sequence. So we're setting up for multiple tests. We have an advanced construction technology initiative to reduce the cost of construction of small modular reactor facilities. And we have several other, we have marine applications and several other projects that we're looking at. Thank you.
Okay, and I believe that's all the names that I see from the federal staff as well as the national lab staff. So back to you, Drew.
All right, thanks, Janelle. We will go ahead and open up the question and answer session now. You can either put your questions in chat, or you can come off of mute, raise your hand, and we'll call on you, and you can go ahead and ask a question. You can direct that question generally, or to any one of the program managers just introduced. I'll go over one question that's in the chat right now as we get started. The question is, how do you suggest that we find universities that are interested in cooperating for the grand challenge? I'll take this one on. There's two suggestions that I would give. The first is that I would suggest looking at the what's called the NE source book. That is a resource that is developed with the American Nuclear Society and DOE to catalog all of the different university faculty members involved in the nuclear engineering and nuclear energy space, their contact information, and a description of their areas of expertise. The other that can be found on nup.gov, and I will get you a direct link to that source book. The second thing I would suggest is, depending on what your interest is or what kind of research area you'd like to pursue for this grand challenge, all of the NEUP funded projects, their abstracts are on nup.gov as well. And so I would recommend that you look over you can search the different projects there and look over the different projects that have already been funded by the department through the university program. We don't do any type of direct matching or pairing of university research applicants for these funding opportunities, though. So that's some legwork you'll have to do on your own.
Drew, one additional thing I would point out for somebody looking for partners like that would be to attend American Nuclear Society meetings, either the general meetings or the topical meetings in a particular area that you might be interested in. IRP deadlines are later on so you still have time, as I recall, because you don't have to do a pre-application for IRPs.
I'm posting that link in the chat to all the related documents. You'll see the Nuclear Science and Engineering source book there as the first link on that page. All right, we'll keep entertaining questions. We do have 90 minutes for this session, but we will, once the questions taper off, we will let our program managers go and wrap up the session. Another item in chat, do you expect the proposal is specific to a certain reactor design, or does the development of technology inclusive solutions have the same level of priority as design specific solutions?
So again, we'll rely on you to propose what makes the most sense. If you want to suggest something that's reactor specific, that's fine. If you want to suggest something that would apply to multiple reactor types, that would be beneficial as well. I would give them all the same priority. It just depends on what you propose and how that lines up with other proposals.
All right, thanks, Janelle. Let's go to Charles Kelly. Go ahead.
This is a question for Diana Lee. Would you mention your office again and talk a little bit about how you're interested in transportation?
My office is, I guess, the microreactor program. So microreactors are touted to have the possible characteristics of being transportable via regular standard capabilities on rails, in ships, by plane, etc. So we are looking into different ways to make sure microreactors can maintain that small footprint, if that makes sense. So we've looked into moderating material, for example, yttrium hydride, that would reduce the volume necessary to moderate a reactor. We're looking into different components that are smaller. We've looked into components such as like heat pipes, which would allow for microreactors to have no moving parts for thermal distribution. We're also looking into the regulatory gaps that are necessary to allow factory fabrication and transportation of microreactors. So those are all technical and regulatory gaps that we have been pursuing to shorten the timeline for allowing a microreactor to be demonstrated.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, if you have more questions, feel free to come off of mute and we will entertain those. All right, if we don't have any questions, I'll review a couple of important dates for this IRP application process, and then provide a little information about how you can have any follow-up questions. So if you do have any questions, we'll do a last call. So feel free to raise your hand as I talk, and we'll capture those before we head out. As John mentioned, the integrated research projects do not have a pre-application deadline, and so the deadline is much further into the future here. And I'm just looking at my sheet here to make sure that it's December 20th. That's right. Thanks, Nick. December 20th. I wanted to make sure I got that 100% right. So thank you, Nick. December 20th for applications here. That means that if you do want to make it to the ANS meeting this winter, you can do that before finalizing your application. The other thing I will mention is that between now and then, this isn't the only opportunity to have to ask questions about the scope or about the process. Please feel free to reach out to NEUP at inl.gov and with any question that you have, and we will route those questions to the correct individuals, whether that's folks here at the integration office who can answer your process or program managers who can answer more technical questions. Those are the few remarks I had. I see that we have one more question. Tatsuya, go ahead.
Sure. One quick question. So I'm just wondering how you evaluate having the industry partner in this IRP proposal. Like, for example, having industry partner like advanced reactor vendors versus not having them. How would that impact the evaluation of the proposal?
So go ahead, Janelle. Yep.
I was just going to say that, an industry partner is not a requirement. But given that this is an IRP, we do like to see a diverse set of partnerships. And if you are looking at a specific reactor type, it would be very beneficial to have industry as part of the team. So though it's not a requirement, it definitely is beneficial and could potentially strengthen your proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I'll just add that from an evaluation criteria standpoint, criterion 3 in the funding opportunity that discusses team capabilities, partnerships, that is the specific area from a technical evaluation standpoint that assesses the needed expertise in your team and evaluates the partnering and those other aspects. So that's where you'll see that considered in the technical evaluation.
The only other caveat is that the budget to an outside partner other than a university is limited to 20% of the total budget.
Yep. All right, we'll do a last call for questions, and if we don't have any further questions, we will conclude the session. All right. I'd like to thank all the program managers here for being available to support the discussion. And if you have any further questions, please do reach out by email. Hope everybody has a great day. Take care.
Thank you.